The paper is open for discussion. Would you like to ask a question, Rolf?
Yeah. The same question poses itself, of course, when you look in the ontogeny of human beings. Where does it start? We have discussed this so often. The egg certainly is a potential for becoming a human being, but when does it have the cognitive abilities that make it resemble a human? So if you think about a one-year-old baby, it has about the cognitive abilities of one of these adult monkeys. Maybe adult monkeys are even a little bit more sophisticated because they are fully developed already, but the baby still learns. So obviously one cannot make the cognitive abilities the criterion to define somebody as human and with all the consequences. So what is your stance on that?
Well, I think that, of course, a child, no? If you observe a child, the child, for example, we say, what is the reason that you baptize a child when he not can choose if he want to be Christian or not be Christian? And St. Augustine with Thomas Aquinas say, no, he not can have enact this decision, but have impotency. So we can say the same. And I am very happy that you use also this idea of potentiality today when you explain the brain. We can observe in the beginning the human being as a child that have all the potentialities and can develop these potentialities also in the brain. But the question is, for this I say, is a projection of our situation in the situation of the first human beings. And if we have this possibility, what is the form to arrive that we have something that is spiritual, as a spiritual principle that transcends the matter in the end? For the classics, for Aristotle, the same. Aristotle say, because we have the intellect, and in the act of intellect, say Aristotle, we understand in the act of the intellect, we understand that we have something that transcends the time and the succession of the time, so the matters, is like this. And more or less is the same in Thomas Aquinas. And also more or less is the same in Hegel. When Hegel speaks about spirit, is this. And the same in Descartes, cogito is this. Cogito transcends the matter. So if we have some activity to transcend the matter, we say in philosophy, we have some principle that transcend the matter. And I think this is the characteristic of the human being. So we apply this idea for the first one, Lucy, and for this I asked to if she has the human, our soul, the same soul, and if say yes, have the same soul. So I understand that this soul is an incorruptible soul, to say the formula of Thomas Aquinas. So, but have all the development possible, but is in relation with the animals, especially the superior animals that we speak today, is a little degree, but it's a degree to change all, and it's the beginning of a develop that is in potency. And of course, in the history, we develop all the things that we have in potency 3 million of years ago. So it's, of course, but look, yesterday, this French professor to speak about these Indians that he studied, he said more or less the same. It's an application of these things that he see in these people for the primitives. So the methodology is more or less the same. We don't have another form to arrive to this because we not have the language. What are the other forms to arrive? Only the stones. And of course, we need to have an interpretation of the stones. But in the major that have symbols, we think the symbols include the art, include all the things that have humans, include religion, include the idea of relation of a superior substance that is a companion of our life. This we suppose.
Francesco.
Yeah, in your paper, you, I think, correctly underlined the role of language. Now, well, most linguists and also paleoanthropologists would agree that there was not a very sudden origin of language, but in fact, language evolved during human evolution. So the different step, and we can imagine different form of communication, some of which may entail the use of symbol, other perhaps not. So for you, what are the key elements in the communication in language that would make prey possible when we see language as just the final result of a relatively long process?
Well, the same to say this morning that we can compose and phrase and synthesis and grammatic. That was the end to say this. And this was exactly of, say, Aristotle, when he say, of course, the animal has a sort of voice, but not just walk, because they can express sentiments, but not can express a concept. And to express a concept, we need subject, verb, and predicate. So more or less, and this is the characteristic of language. And I don't know, but maybe we can say if we have symbol, we have language. But I don't know if we can say this. If we can say this, it's more easy. But it's clear that the language need to be right and to conserve the language. And the writing text we have only 20 years ago, 20,000, no, 10,000 years ago.
Well, somebody may even argue the opposite, that in fact we need the language to have the symbols, because I mean, the language is a sort of complex form of language that allow you to express what is the meaning linked to the symbol, because it would be the definition of symbol. So in a sense, if we want, I mean, if we are able to lie or we want to transmit something to a new generation in which we explain what is the meaning behind symbol, it's extremely difficult to do that without have a relatively complex means of communication.
That I think we can refute from the study of brain lesions. There are a number of patients with aphasia who nevertheless develop complex concepts and may still maintain a capacity for very abstract symbolic thought, for instance, in mathematics. It's not at all infrequent to have preserved mathematics in the presence of very severe aphasia. Of course, during development, maybe it's different, but at least in the adult state, you don't seem to need expressive language to have abstract thought. And there are cases, of course, of children with autism, severe Asperger syndrome that may not develop language, but may still have abstract thinking. So maybe there is a dissociation.
No, but the real problem for me, in this hypothesis, is what is the reason of the acceleration in this last 20,000 years? If we have 3 million years and only have developed so accelerated in this 10,000 or 20,000 years. So this is, maybe it's just because we don't have the possibility to conserve the acquisition of the other generation, because we don't have writing text. I don't know what could be, but this is the only problem for me. But what is the reason that I'm very happy? Because I think that in this way, I follow in the end the thesis of Reeve, that we can have a unity of the human family, and not each time that we discover one thing, say, oh, this Homo sapiens, or this Homo sapiens sapiens, or this Homo australicensis, and we don't know any continuity of this. So
If I may, I wonder whether you underestimate the sense of continuity with other primates. So, but you mentioned continuity, but
No.
you suggest there is one at the level of self-representation or thinking that I think or knowing that I know or something like that. But in fact, there is increasing work suggesting that non-human primates may have a sense of self. And for instance, the famous mirror test, which was thought to be failed by monkeys, now it's been succeeded by monkeys. All you need is to explain to them what is a mirror. So you show them a mirror can allow you to view a different part, and then suddenly they start using them for their body. And they begin to use it to view the inside of the mouth, for instance, or the genitals using the mirror. So monkeys pass the mirror test now. So I wonder what that means for the sense of self. I think there is a beginning of a sense of self without language and in non-humans.
Yeah, we know the sense of self, but as I say, we not have an self-transparency of the self. And to know ourselves in the classic philosophy, but also the modern, we need to know by the activity of ourselves. So we are right to say that our self is spiritual soul because have some things that we believe that are spiritual, like think or like love, and and think. A real thing, not to have I don't know if the monk can think, but really think in the sense of the ideas of the synthesis, as you say, put a language. And I don't think.
Again, I think there are differences, but for instance, non-human primates can pass some metacognitive test. So they have been shown to know when they don't know. It's a very interesting situation. The monkeys can act on the basis of knowing that they don't know. So for instance, they will search for more information, or they will refrain from acting because they know that they don't know. That's already present in macaque monkeys. So it is a form of self-reflection or self-knowledge, or knowing that you think to some extent.
But for example, the monkeys can choose to give the life for another value, spiritual value, for another, like the martyr to say, no, I don't want to sacrifice to the emperor, and I put my life to say.
That's probably beyond the monkey. Yeah.
On one hand, you insist on the continuity. On the other hand, you introduce a kind of radical discontinuity with the soul. Now, could this concept of soul incorruptible be a continuous process rather than an on or off existence in your mind?
Well, this is the question. The idea. So two things. I put a difference, but a difference is the beginning of a development, because it's like a child that have the soul but not speak, and have a develop and become a genius. So this is the idea of develop. So, and of course, the other question, the difference of this soul, because for the Greeks, as you know, for Plato, Aristotle, all the living beings have soul. So the trees have soul, and the animals have soul, and the soul is a form, in some sense, immaterial also, but not incorruptible. So, because the soul, in the reflection of Plato, that came also for religious mythology, but after it was purified, we say in philosophy, and especially in Thomas Aquinas, but also in Aristotle, this soul is next with an being without the connection of the matter. The matter comes after, so it's incorruptible. The matter, the characteristic of matter is the corruptibility. All the things to have matter are corruptible, but the soul, because it has a special act of being. I also recall, say, Paul Ricoeur write a letter to a lady to say, I am near to the morgue, to pass away. What can I think? And Ricoeur say, you have an being, and you are conscious that you have this being, so you are incorruptible. I don't remember what is the word that he used, but so the characteristic of our soul is incorruptible. We say immortal, but immortal is more a question of historical. So the consequence is that for this, I see with Mills Eliade that the religious, in the end, is all the religions have some explanation of the other life, and this is the more important motivation of religion, to give some explanation of the continuity of the life. So, and not to have an equilibrium. So, yes.
Oui.
One last question.
Merci. Je voudrais revenir, Marcello, à ta question. C'est plutôt un commentaire. Y a-t-il un moment où l'humanité s'est mise à prier? C'est ça la question. Donc, je crois qu'il est important de souligner les quelques éléments nécessaires à cette prière. Il y a d'abord une espérance qui est imposée par la conscience. La conscience cherche des solutions, donc elle va chercher un moyen de soulager ces questions. Donc, si nous vivons en collectivité, comme on l'a expliqué, Marie et Amélie l'ont expliqué, si nous vivons en collectivité, nous ne sommes plus au niveau du sentiment de cette insécurité. Nous sommes liés par des liens sociaux qui vont créer donc des réponses non plus individuelles, mais bien collectives. Et ce foyer de réponses, cette gamme de réponses, est une sorte de métaphysique qui se retrouve explicative au-dessus de toute la communauté. De telle sorte que si ce système métaphysique, humanité, peut fonctionner, il doit y avoir, très logiquement, il doit y avoir un moyen de communication entre les deux. Ça, c'est la prière. Donc, dès que nous admettons qu'il y a une fonction symbolique, qu'il y a une métaphysique, qu'il y a une conscience, il y a donc l'existence de sacré. Ce sacré génère une pensée globale qui est une métaphysique avec laquelle l'humanité, l'esprit collégial de l'humanité, entretient des rapports, d'échanges, de sollicitations, d'explications. Et ça, à mes yeux, dès qu'il y a conscience, il y a prière, pour répondre de la même manière à ta question. Merci.
Je comprends ce que vous dites et je suis réellement avec très intérêt toute l'exposition qu'a fait Madame et même vous-même. Mais pour moi, ça c'est clair, ça, c'est la question sociale, la religion a une nécessité de l'animal social, politique. C'est ça la religion, pas nécessairement la prière. C'est aussi, il a une prière commune, des communautés, de la famille, tout ça. Mais je pense que c'est plus profond la question et nous devons fonder ça en l'âme. L'âme spirituelle, parce que c'est l'âme qui est l'image de Dieu et c'est l'âme. Vous savez que notre explication aussi, le catéchisme, c'est le magistère de l'Église, suit saint Thomas d'Aquin, ce point, il dit que l'âme vient directement, c'est une nouvelle création de Dieu, c'est pas vient de les géniteurs, c'est vient du ciel, nous pouvons dire. Ça c'est. Et l'explication que fait Thomas d'Aquin et qui suit l'Église, c'est parce qu'il a un nouveau être. Ce n'est pas la continuité d'un être, mais c'est un nouveau être créé directement. L'être, seulement le peut créer l'être qui est par essence. Et ça, c'est tout philosophie. Ce n'est pas autre chose que philosophie. C'est un philosophie. Je pense que c'est un bon raisonnement.
Merci.
Alors, je pense que l'explication de l'âme, c'est plus profond et pas seulement l'explication sociale. Tous les deux sont complémentaires. Mais...
Merci
Merci.
beaucoup.